So instead, I'm going to set up as you took your big breath, which means you're about to start the podcast.
Welcome to Tickler. I'm Chad Rutherford.
I'm JJ Artemis.
And I'm Andy Kinnick.
And today we're going to be talking about Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is a game that came out in 1995. It was developed by Squaresoft, now Square Enix, and also published by them. It's an RPG, and
On the Super Nintendo.
on the Super Nintendo.
And
the DS, and the PlayStation 1, and
the Wii Virtual
and
Console.
the Wii U virtualizing a Wii, virtualizing a Super Nintendo.
Oh, and the iPad or phone. Or
Oh, yeah,
His
there's an
iOS and Android
iOS
release as well, but
myriad of ways to play this video game.
for some reason. Today we're joined by special guests, me and JJ, who both came very close to not finishing this game by the time the podcast rolled around.
I completely blame you for that, by the way.
Oh yeah?
I've done nothing but spend the last, I'm not going to calculate how many hours, since 10 a.m. yesterday, literally all I have done is play Chrono Trigger.
Did you sleep?
A little. There was some sleeping, but you did that too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I set yesterday aside to finish the game, and because it's me, I woke up at 9 p.m. and was just like, well, I have the whole day, and by day I mean night, to finish the game. So I went from basically the moment that you first enter Antiquity until the end of the game, the final boss battle, in one day, and it was just I hope that doesn't color my opinion of the game.
I hope it doesn't either. I'm worried that the time restraints that I had to sort of rush myself through to get here might have made certain experiences more negative than they actually were, but I'm going to try and keep myself in control of that. But the reason that I blamed you was because you told me that I could get through the Black Oath Tower death thing.
Oh, in 2 hours?
In 1 to 2 hours.
Right. I guess I was assuming that was just you, just nailing every boss, one after another.
And I, on the other hand, played the game all week and could have finished it even earlier than I did, but I thought they might not, so I did as much of the extra content as I could.
That was a really good call. Yeah.
I finished it.
Right.
So I finished at 3 a.m. last night because I did a bunch of optional content.
That's I don't know, despite the fact that I was I hope that this doesn't color my opinion of the game at all, in reality, I actually quite liked this game. And that should be shocking to anyone because it is a very traditional JRPG. But I think that it was just so most of my notes that I have on this game are they're very mechanical. Because as far as, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Because I had to differentiate in my mind why I was enjoying parts of this game that in other games I would just absolutely hate and not engage with at all. Mm-hmm. So, if you guys had anything you wanted to start with in particular.
I need to hear your mechanics discussion on this right now.
Sure,
okay.
It sounds like a good place to start.
Cool. So, Chrono Trigger has what I believe the game describes, it was 20 hours ago at this point, the active combat system.
Yeah.
Where you you still select things from a menu, but you select them in real time as bars fill up, and presumably the enemy is
known as for most people, even though I don't believe it was first, the Final Fantasy VII styled combat system and the way that things have been done in most modern Square RPGs post Final Fantasy VII.
Of the Square RPGs that I've played, and just turn-based RPGs in general,
yeah,
a lot of the time that kind of a thing exists, but then you have basically an unlimited amount of time to select what you're doing. And I feel how frantic the game was, and the fact that positioning and positioning, you don't have any control over that other than when you first encounter the enemy.
Yeah.
But looking at where your character is on the field in comparison to all the other enemies and how they're grouped together, combined with sort of like that franticness of being like, I need to be able to do this thing before that guy like cold cocks me, and I just hit the ground. So like it kept me engaged. It was an RPG combat system where I couldn't just put the console down and walk away for 5 minutes and then come back and be like, oh right, the big attack. The one that makes my character float above the ground and do like an energy blast.
There is a lot of tension, and we're like, I gotta get the heal.
Yeah. Like scrolling through
Heal
items
beam.
has never been exciting to me. But then like when you're one hit away from death and trying to like use a lapis, it is something that's just sort of like innately engaging.
I might phone a little bit in the middle of this cast to try and confirm or deny which Square RPGs at which point started to have it where the bar just controlled when you take your turn versus whether all the turns were active or not. Because I remember the 7 system was called like ATB or something, but come to think of it, I think those bars actually started in 6. I don't know. These all blend together.
I was thinking that it was 6 too.
Yeah.
But I've never played Final Fantasy 6.
I've only played the beginning of it. It's on my to-do list to actually play it.
The point being, I completely agree with the tension that is added into these systems based on like all the time bars and stuff. And the reason why I keep trying to remember where this like system started or came up before, at least in my experience, was because I remember feeling like at some point Final Fantasy games became like competitive menu selecting, because this is a skill that I've like developed over time of like memorizing positions relative to all these menus, since you can never manually sort them like I've always wanted.
You actually can in Chrono Trigger.
What?
Yeah.
Where?
If you go just into your bag, like into your inventory,
Yeah?
you can select an item, and then if you scroll up from it and like press A again, it'll swap positions.
It's always like that with the items. I mean, like with like the skills and the
that was the
important
thing
things.
that was the most important for me. Was like by the end of the game, it was like I had the Athenian water at position 1, high potion at position 2, lapis at position 3, and so it was just like these are my like primary items that I'm going to be using in the game. Where it's like this revives a guy, this puts them back at full health usually. And like this is the help everyone is dying. But
Okay, so if you found items that important to the structure of the game,
yeah, you're right. I did not use like a healer all the time.
yeah, what was your party composition?
I did actually use a healer all the time. I just liked the items. Like sometimes it's better to just. I'll explain.
They're quicker.
And they're pretty good. The items in this game are very good compared to like regular sort of or JRPG
like
items.
using a lapis is way quicker than like using a heal.
Using
spell.
a team heal, yeah. Yeah, my party, which I was gonna bring this up as well as to what you guys went through the game with.
Naturally.
For the majority of the game, like the largest chunk, my party was Chrono, Luca, Frog. And at the end of the game, my party was, or like during the like section where you don't have Chrono, my party was Frog, Luca, Magus, and then the moment Chrono got back, I just kicked Magus to the curb and just went back to my core 3.
Yep. Exact same experience in terms of having him be like the shitty gothic replacement for
Chrono.
as like the damage dealing guy, and then just pushing him back to the side after his revival.
I didn't use Luca at all. Except for the beginning when you had to.
Right.
Yeah, I used Chrono, Marl, and Frog. And then I replaced Frog with Robo when I got him. And then I played through most of the game with them. And then I switched it up. I put Ayla in my party because she's such like a tank.
Right. I hate her.
She's my least favorite character too, but they also have like the best triple move, like Chrono, Ayla, and Robo.
Right.
I don't know. Twister, it hits like everything on the screen.
I never experimented with triple moves at all.
See,
so really? Comparison there. I only had one party composition that I stuck with, which was Chrono, Frog, and Ayla. And the triple move is awful. So
it's like the spinny.
No,
thing.
it's like a single target damage thing. It's like 3D attack or something stupid like that.
3D attack.
Yeah, and
that
not good.
shocks me.
Yeah, I used
that you didn't experiment with the systems in the game.
By the end of the game, I was a bit time constrained.
I was. That's true. I was like, JJ is either going to go one of two ways. He's going to have like tried every combination and like weighed which moves were the best with each characters.
Oh no.
Or he's going to form a really huge attachment to like two characters and only use one party.
My attachment character, and for those listening at home, you could have heard my like tiny little exclamation of joy once it became known that all three of you guys used Frog, the best character, narratively and mechanically in this game.
Yeah, narratively, absolutely. Frog is the character that I think, albeit I've done literally none of the like character side quests.
Right.
I think that Frog is the only character that has like any main plot exposition devoted to him. With the exception of Magus. But Magus is really just like a bait and switch.
Yes.
Like that's his whole like plot importance, is that like you know he's trying to summon Lavos.
Yeah.
You find out that he wasn't, and then you find out that he was that kid. And it was like, oh. He has a scythe, that's cool. Like, alright.
He's still pretty evil as a person. And
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even know, honestly. He was in my party for such a short period of time. He kind of like, I don't know. He just sort of played into what I think like the anime trope that I was thinking about because of the weird cutscenes. Like, he's like the Vegeta of the game. Where he, like, comes off as, like, an evil character, and then, like, joins you to take down the bigger evil. And he's, like, just flippant and doesn't care.
He is actually exactly like Vegeta.
No, that comparison doesn't work perfectly, because Vegeta didn't start out with, like, kind of acceptable goals.
I guess,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, Vegeta
But
wasn't, like, secretly working toward
You still
saving
thought
the
he
world.
was evil, though.
Oh,
for
of
the
course you
first part
did.
of the game.
Of course you did.
He's enough like Vegeta that...
Yeah, I also just assumed that he was evil, leading up to it, because he's not even... The only time they mention him is when they're like, he killed Cyrus. Like, he murdered a dude, and then is gonna bring back, like, this thing that you've seen destroys the world.
He
It's
curses a person. He curses my favorite person.
Right.
Frog.
Into a frog.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Something about Frog... I liked Frog mostly because, like, he got me through a lot of the game by just dealing more damage than anyone else.
Yeah.
Because he, like, comes, like, set up with just a kit to be a badass.
Yeah.
They're just like, here's, like, a legendary sword, like this game's version of the Master Sword, and the hero badge, which makes that sword just undescribably good. Like, have at it. And so, like, he just sat there just killing everybody, and I was like, well, I don't really want to take... Even when I had to replace the Masamune eventually... I had to, like, I was like, yeah, he's still good. He does water. He's the only person who does water
If
magic.
you do his side quest, it makes the Masamune the best sword that he can use again.
I was hoping that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Good. I was kind of bummed about that when it's like the plot just kept progressing.
You go to Northern Ruins, is what it's called,
Mm.
and Cyrus's ghost is there, and, like, you had to do, like, a side quest, like, you put him to rest.
That was the side quest that I, like, literally walked in the door of that building, looked up at a clock, and was like, I don't have time for this, and then just started at the end of the game and turned around and left. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, Frog's got like an AoE team heal. Later, he's got like an extremely strong single target heal. He's got he's got a magic type. He's a Swiss Army knife of a character.
Yeah, it's less our attachment to Frog, like mine and Andy's, and we're just his like mechanical utilization.
Yeah.
He's just very good.
Yeah, and he's just cool. Like a frog dude.
Right.
Yeah. It's just
And when you win a battle with him, he has like a unnaturally beefy right arm.
I was actually really excited that they recontextualized narratively him being like a cursed guy, because given like the weird like Toriyama weirdness, I would have honestly just preferred if it was just like, oh no, the like fabled hero of this kingdom is just a frog guy.
He's just a frog man.
And everyone just accepted him as the frog guy who was really good at everything.
Yeah. I kind of wanted him. I don't know if this happens in one of the endings, but I wanted him to be changed back, like at the very end.
He was changed back in my ending.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I think that happens if
In a sweet anime cutscene.
Ah, sweet anime cutscene.
I thought that.
That
well,
I
I don't know.
didn't
Obviously, I don't know like
Because
at all.
the ending
but-
that I got, they all just went to the Moonlight Parade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the main ending.
A lot of endings have them going there. At
Yeah.
least there are a lot of
And even
deviations to that ending.
Meryl
Yeah.
or Mara, whatever, even kisses him,
Right.
and he doesn't figure that would be how they would do
Oh,
it.
yeah, they do like
Yeah.
classic
Yeah.
fairy tale stuff.
But
I think we got the same ending,
But-
or at least close to the same ending.
maybe they changed the main ending for the DS remake.
The anime cutscene that I assume also appears in the PS1 version
right.
is they just show like a bunch of after scenes of them back in like their sort of home times, and in his after scene, he's just like a super buff dude with green hair. That was the other thing. Is unlike,
I don't want him to be super buff.
oh yeah, he's fucking ripped. I'm sorry.
In the anime cutscene, he's like a super ripped guy.
He's incredibly ripped.
Oh,
That's
yeah, that's good.
lame. I always imagine him as just looking like Joe Everyman.
Well,
Right.
he did. His sprite was very Joe Everyman, but he just presumably over the course of being awesome, just
Got real buff.
acquired buffness.
Like he showed back up as a human being, and he was like, "Oh man, like the big buff right arm I had carried over to the rest of my physique when I changed back into a human being."
What, are you operating under the assumption that it was only that arm that had any muscles whatsoever?
Yeah, because it was like any time that and like I'm assuming that it was just a trick for like the development of the sprite. When they were just like, we have to show him like flexing, like that's what we want him to do in his victory animation. So to do that, they made his arm way huger and more noticeable.
So you could tell what was going on.
Yep.
But like when he's just normally standing around or like wielding the sword or whatever, he just has two normal size arms.
Yeah.
And then one becomes like, the guy from The Lady in the Water. If anyone watched that really bad movie,
Did not see.
who only worked out one arm. It is a huge buff arm for some reason.
You have not convinced me to watch Lady in the
Oh,
Water.
I don't want to. It's maybe the worst film I've ever seen in my life.
Good. Okay.
But we do seem to be overlooking one huge thing about how great Frog is,
Yeah.
and that is his 15-point tech, like single tech.
Never used it.
It drops a huge rainbow frog on people.
What?
You really never used
I really never used
frog
it even once.
squash.
It was the thing was just like it gets stronger when your HP's lower, and then I was like, oh, I guess I'm good at this game, so it'll always suck, and then never used it ever.
Oh, well, you should have used it because it drops a giant rainbow frog on people.
Clearly.
I never used that move either. I used Leap Slash was the move I always went with.
Well, it's a good move. But it's like cleave on Chrono,
Right.
or like it's
the
their
default
like good low cost
Right,
MP
yeah.
tech.
But now that we're back at like specific mechanics descriptions, to explain why I wasn't like constantly messing with all the systems and trying to find all the
right.
different combinations and things, is that I knew I was on a time constraint.
Right,
But
that
that was
makes
actually the
sense.
smaller half. The bigger half is that only the next one that you get is signal at all, and none of the duels are ever signal before you already have them and try and use them once in a battle.
Right.
So I could never like go in an educated fashion to try and mess with what was going on. Like in Transistor or something, I would not only have like general ideas about what's going to happen when I shove any of these two general behaviors together.
Right.
I also had literal like technical descriptions of what was happening in every case, and I could just mess around in the menu and then try it practically if I wanted to. In Chrono Trigger, I would have had to level them up first to do that, and I didn't feel like doing that.
That's not really. That's no excuse, JJ.
I would say, like,
your characters remain like one level under your main party throughout the whole game.
The TP does not.
Right,
And
but-
it's different.
I think that they supply you with at least some of those. 'Cause it seemed like every time I brought a new character,
You have to use the characters together to get any of their dual
the dual
moves.
tech, yeah.
Yeah. Unlike even their leveled TPs, those aren't even like there's no grayed out thing that describes their other techs. You just have to have them together in a party for
That's
this
it.
to show up.
I was gonna bring up Transistor too, because like in Transistor, I like
This
did
is the
not.
second time
This is like
in
the
the
ex-
podcast
yeah.
history that we've said Transistor also as Transistor 2, which I'm always like, why are they making a sequel to Transistor?
You made me lose my train of thought, Chad.
Sorry.
Oh, no, I felt like not that I didn't feel incentivized, but like I didn't find myself wanting to experiment with the different moves in Transistor, where I found myself wanting to mess around with the stuff in Chrono Trigger.
I feel like the game...
I think because I like the characters, honestly.
Oh.
Like, because, like, Chrono Trigger, for me, had, like, the good problem of me, like, not wanting to take... Or, like, I didn't want to leave any of the characters out, but there would be, like, the one character that was, like... not as good as the rest, so I would leave them at the end of time, but then I would feel bad about it, so I would take them to certain places to do stuff.
Right.
So I always wanted to switch out the characters because I liked them all.
In the on the flip side of that, I would always talk to Marl to change my party and then never take her because I just hated that character. She was just so awful.
Hate Marl?
Because she was just I don't know. There's a certain level of sort of boring, not very well thought out female characters that you expect in a JRPG.
Yeah.
But Marl is just a microcosm of all of that. She's terrible offensively to the point where they're going so far as to say that women are weak, as to give them a strength score that is always so much lower than any male characters. And she doesn't and her team heals are just not frogs. So there's no reason to ever have her.
I used her as my magic character.
Yeah.
But I mean, her whole initial scene in the Millennial Affair was fine.
Yeah, I just thought she was fun and bubbly, and I liked her more than Luca.
I mean, pretty much every character, regardless of gender, is stereotyped in some fashion, sometimes with just tiny twists.
It's kind of forced in this game because they can't devote a ton of narrative time to any one of them because you have a party that you have to select.
You just you end up with archetypes, and those are just easier for people to grasp. This is the smart one.
Right.
She's the ditzy one.
It's still, I mean, but you still play. You can still.
But they're
play
still
as
likable.
Magus and even Robo are moderately complex characters in terms of what they do in the story, and Luca at least has plot significance beyond the kingdom, which quickly becomes a non-plot element.
Luca gets sort of past tense significance in one of the side quests. I can't remember every list of every side quest that I did, but the character side quests that stick out to me right now is that I did one for Robo and one for that I didn't know at the time, but in the end ended up being related to Luca.
The one with the Sunstone?
I did Sunstone too, but no, that wasn't it. That's not the one I'm referring to this time either. The Sunstone was just its own weird thing. I did that assuming it would be how I would revive Chrono, and then I just got a sweet gun and was this is not... Can you use this power in a better way? But what actually happens is that there's this tiny side story in which you work to turn the desert into that's in the southern continent.
Oh, the Sunken Desert.
Yeah,
this is the most sadistic quest I've ever been on.
What? I didn't do that.
I'll explain after your story.
But yeah, and after you successfully kill all the monsters underneath, you have the option to leave Robo there, who will just till the fields for 400 years.
Right.
And then they have a sweet camping scene, and after the sweet camping scene, there's just out of nowhere a weird narrative segment in which just Luca wakes up by herself, goes in a special red time portal, and gets to watch her mother be paralyzed again for the second time in her life. And it's a really good segment because you run in and you still have active character control. And I read up on this specifically right after it happened. And you actually can change events if you're just good enough. You have to enter a passcode in 5 seconds. But the passcode, they aren't any one-to-one correlations between. They're just you press a button and a letter will appear.
Right.
And you have to just press the buttons either fast enough or in the right order to spell out the correct passcode. And if you do it, then your mother has legs, and if you don't, she does not. Yeah, it's really nuts.
So it completely pins it on her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't do that side quest.
Oh man,
but
I'm glad. Moment.
I'm glad that they.
I hated it.
Oh well, we'll let you go into that in a second, because I just want to say I'm glad I expected them to do something with you leaving Robo in the past and then coming back for him in the in a later time period. In the future. But it never came up in my playthrough. I'm glad that exists in the game.
Yep. Yeah. Basically, this is a small part of a larger story about how I hate the like last section of like the third act of this game. It was painful to like have to finish it. I always say painful.
You do.
When
You're
I
in
really
pain a lot.
when I really mean like just annoying and I don't want to do it.
You actually use the word hate.
I hate the last third of this game.
All right.
Where's
just
the start
clarify.
point of the last third?
Basically when you lose Chrono. And it has nothing to do with that. I'm actually all for that in terms of like the narrative and mechanical implications of not having your main party member anymore.
Okay, cool.
Like that I'm totally cool with. It's just what the game does with that. Because the whole sneaking around in the vents thing is just filler. Like there's nothing there. You just walk around in a dark maze until you find ladders. And yes, you can look through the vents to see if you want to go down the ladders, but like it's just looking through vents. Like it's not exciting.
You gotta be selective. You gotta pick your battles.
Well, you don't have to pick your battles because if you go down before you have any equipment, they just put you back in the cell and you can try again.
Oh, I didn't know.
I say like I did that like a million times.
Yeah, like
I tried to brute force it and just like run around and like got put back in the cell like a billion.
Yeah, because
times.
you know what really isn't fun?
Looking through vents.
Vents would be great.
You
Yeah,
have to look through the vents to get through that, and I just tried to not do it.
I thought that was one of my favorite segments of the whole game. Oh my god.
somebody once said that a stealth game is only as fun as what happens when you get caught, and when you just start over, it's not fun, and therefore the stealth section is not good.
I hate when they just shove a stealth section. I both hate, oh no, you lost all your equipment
Right?
as a trope, and I hate it when they shove a stealth section.
Further explaining why you don't like Metroid games.
Yeah. When they shove a stealth section into a game that's not at all a
The stealth game.
It was just another way that they were trying to force like all of the systems and the ways that you're used to interacting with the game to change post Chrono death.
Yeah, and I'm actually like all for that kind of stuff,
Mm.
Yeah.
but I just didn't think that was like a good.
I never experienced the lame consequence because I was so concerned about it. Like the illusion of threat in that circumstance worked so well on me because I never wanted to go down any of those ladders
I
once I had
can't
perfect information.
believe you didn't get caught even once, though.
Nope.
I only got caught one time.
Oh,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, you said that you tried to just go down and run.
I
Like,
tried to
that's-
brute force it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
probably got caught close to like 20 times.
I thought it was so cool.
I just went through the tedium
Did
of
you-
like just
I
actually
even-
looking through everything.
You
and
can
being
walk up to the cell door, knock on it, and tell like the jailers that you're sick, and they'll come in, and
Right.
you can pop them in the head and like sneak out
Oh, cool.
that way.
like,
But-
only if you have Ayla in your party.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ayla doesn't require equipment to fight.
Yep.
So if
There
you
you go.
have her in your party at the time, it'll. I remember because I was. God, I was because one of my friends told me that like Magus joins your party, right? And
Oh, you spoiled it.
Yeah.
he spoiled it for
What
me
a
basically
douche.
immediately. He's gonna listen to this and be like,
Yeah.
"I'm not that mean."
You're a douche.
I didn't really care.
God, I
Um,
don't know.
But I knew basically when I got to the point where you find out that Magus is a child, I had Frog in my party because everybody had Frog in their party.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, is Frog just gonna like cut Magus's throat right now? He like pulls out his sword and is like ready. He's like, do you mean to fight me? I was like, oh, okay. No. But I didn't make a backup save in case I did want to do that in the future.
Mhm.
Now that I know what the last act of the game is, I probably won't ever do it. But it was just like, but the thing was like, at this point, you should really take Ayla in your party. Like the walkthrough that I found for what to do about mages. It was like, you should take Ayla in your party because you're gonna have no equipment and she's gonna be the only person who's able to fight without equipment. And I was like, I have no way of changing my party at all right now. So that's just why I knew that Ayla was somebody that you should just have.
Wait, what do you
You
mean?
can-
You had no way of changing
You can
the
change your
party?
party at any time.
Yeah.
By pushing the Y button.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also a button in the main menu and on the bottom screen. There are 3 distinct, like, dedicated buttons.
It's even in the Super Nintendo version. It's not even like a DS.
DS exclusive feature.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's hilarious. I thought that you had to be at the end of time to change your party.
I did for a little while.
Yeah,
before I
understandable
discovered
assumption.
it.
Yeah.
I had an almost equally catastrophic misunderstanding of systems, which was I thought after reviving Chrono, I thought I just lost the time machine. Not like narratively it was destroyed, like I physically lost it and I have no idea where it could be.
Oh, the epoch?
Yeah. I had to eventually, because again, time restraints, didn't have the time to just brute force it and look everywhere. Just Google, like, where's my time machine? And you can just jump off the like, stairs thing.
Oh, right,
And
yeah.
land in the time machine at the end of time. So.
Yeah, take off or get off. These are the menu
Oh, they
options
are,
when
yeah.
you get into
Sorry,
the
you said it with the
epoch.
inflection that made me interpret it as a threat.
That's how I read it.
That's different in the Super Nintendo version.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
full speed ahead and disembark.
Wow.
Evidently there
That
are...
sounds way better
Yeah,
than take off
you've-
or get off.
You said a couple of things that I thought were different. Were there actually like high potions in this game in the DS version?
Yeah, this
'Cause
is
they're
another thing that I
tonics
found.
in
Oh, yeah,
the
tonics.
original.
Yeah, they a lot of the equipment, I guess, changed.
And
the-
you said
the
something about
strength tabs, or what they
oh
call
yeah,
them.
power tabs.
Yeah, they're called strength capsules in the DS version.
It
Very
just
weird.
took all the proper nouns. Instead of, I assume, making up their own things, they just borrowed them in all the remakes from either Dragon
Balls.
Ball or from Square Enix games
Makes
broadly.
sense.
So, yeah, all of our proper nouns might be slightly different, but I have
Right.
faith in us to be able to recognize the differences when they arise, even though evidently they're just everywhere.
Shall I proceed with the analysis of the third act of this game?
Oh yeah.
Yes, you should.
Shall we continue? So, stealth section, which we disagreed on a little bit for the most part, stupid. We had a part that I actually do like, which is the, like, hilarious fake boss battle with the golem, and then accidentally shooting down the ship, and then the fake boss battle with Dolphin.
Yeah.
So that was, I mean... whatever.
Weird comedic relief.
Yeah, I don't understand why it was there.
Yeah, I was so tense
I
because I
think-
was going through the stealth section like really intentionally.
Right.
I like through that section when you look through the vents, it creates part of a map. So I was like, gotta map out this whole place. Just like acting like someone who's trying to break into a bank, and then just out of nowhere, I like all the tension is culminating in this boss battle that was weirdly hidden.
Yeah.
And then I get there, and then it's not a boss battle, and then like Dalton breaks the fourth wall, and I don't understand where any of this is coming from. There was a guy who was murdered, and I'm like ready to like break into the vault,
Right.
but I accidentally maybe kill a whole bunch of soldiers.
Yeah, I only liked that segment just because it was the first time in a long time that I felt like I was actually making some sort of progress. Could you, like, fight 2 boss battles and get your shit back?
Mhm.
It's like the whole past hour I've just been walking around doing goddamn nothing. So then you land, and the whole Magus thing happens, and you go back to the future. Unfortunately, that is true.
You do that a bunch in this game.
Yeah. What actually happens after you get Magus? You start off on the quest for Death's Peak.
Which mages? There's like 3 of them. Oh wait, no.
Not
The
mages,
character.
plural.
Magus.
Magus.
We'll call him Magus.
Magus.
That's better. Yeah.
I don't know. I tried to look up the
Magus
pronunciation
sounds
for
better.
most of
I
these
mean,
things, but that's
This
not.
is one of those games where
Yeah.
everyone's going to pronounce the names differently.
Yeah.
Apparently the biggest one, like the one that has the most conflict, is Marl. Because apparently it is supposed to be Marl, even though it's a terrible name.
Yeah.
All the names are awful. All the proper names that are not things you input in this game, I think, are just bad. And it might even be a subtle way to motivate you
To
name
rename them?
Yeah,
Do
make
you
them
think
something
they're
better.
all bad?
Frog, Robo, Marl.
Those are all
Marl.
bad. But like Luca's like not a bad name.
Luca's fine.
I thought it was just
And
alright.
Chrono's also fine.
Yeah.
I didn't. No person is
And-
named Chrono.
I also like Magus. I think it's like fits his character.
That one's also fine.
It seems
was
like
later than
it
after
seems
I
like a
made this
name
note.
that he made up. Well, it is because his name was
Yeah.
Janice.
Yeah.
Sounds
Sounds like your edgy name when
Yeah.
you're good at magic.
when your name is Janice and you need to come up with a more badass name.
Ayla's also fine, I guess.
Yeah, Ayla's also. I forgot about her
Are
because I
those
don't like her.
all bases covered?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
she's
think.
a good person to not like.
Yeah, she's really annoying.
Yeah, and I had her on my party all game and was annoyed that there wasn't another character there providing me with, like, actual dialogue instead of strange grunts.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is all you get with her.
That is so weird. Like, part of the reason that I hated that I replaced Robo with Frog was because I loved Robo's dialogue in comparison. Because it was just like
sweet dialogue.
He just like has. Well, he's like the C-3PO character. Like he just.
Yeah.
Like he gives you analysis of situations, which is nice.
He's formal.
He is formal.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So basically, this is the part because honestly, the like boss rush, or if you're feeling ambitious, the boss rush that leads into a boss rush that leads into a 3-stage boss is fine in my book. Like the bosses are probably some of my favorite mechanical parts of this game, which we'll probably get into in the second half. But my least favorite experience that I had with this game is the, like, Chrono Doppel obtaining process, which in itself is probably not that bad. But the way that I underwent this task was unbelievable in how terrible it was for me.
Please, continue.
So I had no idea what the hell anyone was talking about when they were like, we need to get, like, some kind of a stand-in for Chrono. And I was just like, how in God, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, it took me forever to figure out that I was supposed to even go back to the Millennial Fair, or what time period I was supposed to be in.
Don't feel bad, because I'm sure there's tons of kids who never got Chrono back.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
so hard to figure out how to do.
I accidentally cheated that process because in, like, the very, very start of the game, I spent forever in the fair because I interpreted the fair as, wait, this game just gave me, like, 6 different ways that I could just make really small, incremental, but guaranteed progress at everything that's happening. Because you get experience from killing the cat, and you can trade the points in either for money or just other things in the fair.
Sure.
And there was that, like, mysterious mask guy in
Yeah.
the back who we're all referring to as who's secretly part of this quest.
Beckler, I believe
Yeah.
is his name, yeah.
And all of his stuff requires, like, a stupid amount of points, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get some good shit from that.
Right.
So I just kept farming the cat, just over and over again, kept
What is
re-eating
it?
that.
The cat.
The robot that Luca
The
built.
robot cat.
Oh, gato.
Yes.
Spanish for cat, of course. I was wondering, it doesn't
not
look
the-
like a cat to me. He's like a...
What?
He looks like Big Hero 6 with a karaoke machine duct taped to his
He's
chest.
he's got ears.
Yeah, the head looks
Yeah.
like a cat.
That's the only thing. I wasn't paying attention.
if-
It's my favorite theme in the whole game, by the way. It's going to be what the opening track of this podcast
Damn it.
is.
I guess that makes sense. It's the weird little cat enunciations. But yeah, I just killed the cat like 1,000,000 times, and I kept working my way up because I thought the secret tent was where I'd get all the coolest stuff.
Right.
So I did the first one, got some doll that was stupid, I can't remember, and then I did the second tier and got a different stupid doll because I never went back to the house to check well, I did after I got both of them and was done with it a long time later, but I never, like, looked immediately after that. I was like, you just get, like, cosmetic dolls for your room? This is so lame.
Yeah.
And then left it, continued the game, and then eventually came back and found it weird that you had, like, a clone doll of yourself in your room.
Right.
And you skip forward 20 hours, and now
Just
I know
completely
I just
forget
have
about
one
that.
of these for
Yeah.
some reason.
We'll skip over the fact that I also looked at literally every building before I realized which one was Chrono's house. Because I never went back after
Me,
like,
I hadn't
leaving.
either. It actually took me a while.
Yeah.
To find it.
So really gloss over that because that's probably more my stupidity than just the game being obtuse.
Yeah.
But I remember going into that tent because it was like, check out the House of Horrors. And I
Right.
was like,
Hell yeah.
I love horrors. And I walked in, it was like 20 silver points. I was like, fuck off, and left.
I had
And
a
just
similar
proceeded
experience.
with the game.
Yeah. I think it's, like, literally unfathomable to me that you spent that much time at the fair.
Hey, I thought I was getting a leg up on leveling up and all sorts of secret
That's
awesome
like-
prizes. I was
that's-
only wrong about one of those things.
that's
The
like
Secret House of Breath.
grinding, like, fighting Titus at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts. Like,
which
a
I
million times.
have also done.
That's
That's like
just
making
weird
sure
to
that
me.
your
I
starter
wanted
Pokemon
Stan.
is level
I
15
guess.
before you leave Route.
But anyway, because yeah, like I hate more things that I hate. on top of, oh no, losing all your items.
Right.
I hate just collections of mini games.
Right.
So, not a fan of Mario Party. Don't kill me. But
I think at this point in time, nobody likes Mario Party.
I don't
Yeah.
even like the original or 2 or any of the ones.
Well, I'm
that
saying I
people
think that
love.
at this point in time, everyone has seen through the hand blisters and nostalgia that like make up your memories of Mario Party and realize that it
Gotcha.
actually sucks.
So like I did everything once, did not even think about checking out what I could do with the points, and just proceeded with the story.
But there's money. There's money to be
So-
made.
Yeah, but as I've discovered, well, okay, this actually compounds the issue because when I did finally get to, when I figured out that I was supposed to go to the goddamn fair, and get the stupid doll, I had 40 silver points because I didn't use any points at the fair. In reality, I just got points.
Good for you.
Thank you. And I walked up to the guy and I was like, all right, what's up? And he was like, well, I can't give it to you, so you have to play the game. And if you fail at the game, if you, like, the longer you last in the game, the cheaper it's gonna be.
Oh.
So I make it like 15 moves into the stupid matching game and fail. And he's like, you don't have enough money. If you'd made it further, I could have made it cheaper. And I was like, well, fuck that. How much money do I have? 0 gold.
How did you have 0 gold?
Because this game taught me basically that items are far more important than money because you can grind up like a stupid amount of money in a very short period of time just by going through a new area.
Yeah.
So anytime that I would finish an area, I would go to whatever the unique vendor was in that place, buy anything that seemed useful, and then just spend literally every other piece of gold that I had on like potions and high potions and ethers and stuff, so that I always had a stock of items.
This is part of your weird item dependency.
That's
Yes.
that's also weird to me.
Did you never sell your
I did.
other-
I do this in Pokemon too.
Weird. Yeah, I only ever bought ethers really
Oh.
because like I just healed to
Right.
refill my.
I almost
health.
like the
and shelters. I bought
this
shelters
comes
all
to
the time.
yeah, shelters in this game execution flawless. I mean, just that's probably in most Square games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but, like,
it's like
the-
the same thing.
Yeah, my like only tie-in with these shelters are the tents from Kingdom Hearts, which I used in
Right.
comparison. So it was like I don't know. Either way, yeah, I bought shelters too. I had like 34 shelters at the end of the game.
I always had just like tons of excess gold.
You're right.
Yep.
Like I failed that game like fairly quickly and still had enough gold to
Yeah,
just buy
because
the
it's
doll.
40,000. I
Yeah.
googled this because I was sick to fucking death of this whole part of the game.
Well, it is optional.
Yeah, I could just go without Chrono, but he has Luminaire, and
That's
I got through a
true.
lot of the game just spamming Luminaire and heal in a rhythm.
The JRPG floating.
The floating
Nova-
energy blast.
Yeah, yeah.
He used Spirit
Classic.
Bomb essentially.
It's like a classic scene.
it is
Because he
like
just
classic.
has Goku's everything.
Yeah.
He is just a Goku with red hair.
I
and
think
no
he looks a
voice.
little more like Gohan than Goku.
Sure, but I think you can recognize it's a pretty subtle
Oh,
distinction.
also, total Dragon Ball Z like thing that I noticed out of nowhere because you brought up Goku.
Mhm.
Luca's outfit is like totally where they got the inspiration for the Saiyaman costume.
Oh no, those both are from the same thing.
What?
Yeah, this is. I can understand why both of you guys wouldn't be aware of this, and something that I might need to phone for. But both of those outfits
Yeah.
are a reference to the actual first thing Toriyama got famous for, which was like a manga about like a little engineer science girl who was just really super cute and made robots. And I forget the name of this like incredibly famous pre-Dragon Ball thing that he
Huh.
did. But yeah, I've read some of them because they were in Shonen Jump when I was a kid, occasionally.
Interesting.
But yeah,
So are they just straight lifted from that, or are they just inspired by?
Luke's is essentially just lifted from that. You just take the main character of that and age her 5 years, and that's Luca.
Gotcha.
But yeah, pretty much everything in this game, at least based on our experience, is straight lifted from something. But
Right.
that's not necessarily that big of a criticism.
Either way, I had no money.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry,
So,
you poor Chad.
I was attempting to grind out money by going to the Sunken Desert, where I remember going previously, getting my ass handed to me like miserably. So I went in, and those enemies that used to hand me my ass, now just, like, I had a rhythm down where I could just do water, then ice, and just kill all of them.
Yeah.
So I did that in the whole room, and then went to the next area, and there was a boss. I didn't know how to fight the boss yet, which is one of the things I like about this game, but not in this instance, because I just killed the core, and then realized that none of your multi-attacks could hurt it, and then it just pummeled me.
How do you kill that boss?
You're supposed to.
Because I never went back to
and
it.
he's done this,
I
presumably.
have, but I forget already.
Is
even though it
you
was hours
attack anything that isn't the core.
Okay.
It will start drawing, like, heals from the core,
Uh-huh.
but you don't want the core to die. So you have to hit it with elemental attacks non-water elemental attacks to heal the core to keep it alive while you hit the other two parts.
That's cool and smart, but
It
not
is
what I did.
So miserable to try and do. In fact, I did it 3 times, failed all 3 times, lost all of the money and experience that I got from the first room, and then just said, fuck it, and sold like half of the stuff in my inventory.
Why didn't you just go to a different time period and grind there?
That was the only place that was the place that I knew had the highest, like, experience point enemies. And it wasn't for levels, I just assumed that they would also give me the most gold.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assumption.
Either way, it was fairly quick to, like, sell enough stuff to have 40,000 gold.
Right.
But then, of course, that time I just aced the minigame and gave it to me for free.
Good.
But then there's the boss rush, and that's... Well, I also really hate Death Peak, but I'll get into that later.
Yeah, I will agree. The third act definitely, like, throws a wrench into, like, the relatively smooth pacing that the game had before that.
But the smooth pacing that it had before, at least in my experience, didn't seem like particularly remarkable. I completely agree that there are like pacing missteps in Act 3, although we appear to disagree a lot about what the specific missteps in pacing are. But like, if a lot of the twists in Act 3 hadn't existed, if they hadn't have killed off the player avatar, which, by the way, did either of you guys rename Chrono?
No.
No.
I just wanted to have the, like...
For the sake of the cast.
Yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
know all the... I wasn't going to
Same thing
forget
for me.
Chrono, but whatever.
But like, think of how affecting that would be if you had done that.
If you named it, like, Chad,
Yeah.
or, like, Chad's best friend.
And then, and everyone just kept referring to like you as being a dead entity. So cool. One of the many reasons that I love that they kill the avatar. But like that as a decision, I liked a lot of the ways that they sort of changed up the way that you interact with the game in Act 3. But then they also just made you go through like horrible, impossibly long, like grind and hallway sequences in a bunch of different circumstances. There are ups and downs in Act 3, but without Act 3 being there, I don't know why it would have received the amount of like historical praise that this game has received, because this game makes it like top 10 games lists, right?
Yeah, people love
which
it.
is something I didn't know until I was researching the game, because like I knew people liked the game
Yeah.
and that it was popular, but like I was reading the Wikipedia page and it was like, this is often cited as like one of the most influential games or one of the best games ever made.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I
mean, I
totally
thought it was
agree
real
with like this being like one of... It's arguably, like, for all the people who have like all of the fondness for classic Square games,
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger is literally the only one I've played that I think holds up in a post-Kingdom Hearts world.
Why? And why post Kingdom Hearts too?
Oh, because Kingdom Hearts made me able to play RPGs without falling asleep.
Oh, okay.
And just because weirdly I like Pokemon, but I think it's because of the variety. I think Chrono Trigger has that sort of a thing going for it too. You get to sort of tailor your team to how you want it to be. You get to sort of tailor your team to how you want it to be, and play the game more or less the way that you want to.
Yeah.
And I'm like just a big fan.
The
of that.
characters, I think, do allow you to form like a stronger attachment to this game than you would with other Square Enix games.
Right. Plus, it's like a multi-hour, large scale RPG that encourages and like facilitates multiple playthroughs.
Yeah.
I think it's credited with like being the game that popularized New Game Plus, if not the inventor.
I think it coined the phrase New Game Plus.
That's what it is.
I'm sure other games did a second playthrough, like Master Quest or whatever, in Zelda, but it coined the phrase New Game Plus.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like this is something that we should probably also have. We should have had more historical backing on if possible, because like my experience with the early game of this is just like, oh, this is exactly the same as like 3 or 4 other pretty good games that I've played and beaten in my life.
The beginning, like with the castle, I'm like, this is very Final Fantasy right now.
Yeah, it was just like a Final Fantasy game that they got Toriyama to do art for. And import things from.
So it's like Dragon Quest.
Yes.
Yeah. Well.
How have we not talked about Dragon Quest yet?
Because like almost
God.
like no one has played Dragon Quest, it seems.
But
correct.
Except for me.
You said that this is something that you wanted to have like more of a historical back on.
Yeah.
And I think that a really good substitute for a historical back is like really quickly just looking some stuff up on your phone.
Yeah.
Which we could totally do.
Well, what kind of historical stuff? Because I did a lot of like research on this game actually.
Why did you ruin this? That was such a great transition. You bulldozed it. You came in full speed.
Yeah, that's how you gotta. That's just the nature of our relationship.
You just strangle the cast into
no.
Oh no, he just bulldozes.
I just
straight up the ass.
Yeah. Teachers, ready your spell best.
Okay.
But anyway.
And we're back.
Yeah.
We did some Googling
Yeah.
in the middle of that break. We were looking for like the historical significance that Chrono Trigger like either drew from or created. Because I remember I took a note, and Andy and I were talking about this a little while ago, where it's like Chrono Trigger is like such a good RPG that it seems amazing that the only thing that I can name that like directly took its influence from this was Marvel Ultimate Alliance on GameCube.
What?
Because I couldn't think of another like another thing that seemed unique to Chrono Trigger that I've seen show up in other games, except the like combo text, which is like what Marvel Ultimate Alliance is based on. It's like an isometric, like, Diablo-style beat-em-up game, but you could, like, input a button combination and your characters would do special moves together, and they would combine.
Yeah. I did think it was weird. Yeah, because, like, it's such, like, a highly praised game.
Right.
And, like, it's, like, just really good. And, like, it didn't spawn, like, its own, like, kind of subgenre of, like, copycats.
But I guess it depends here on whether we think it copied a lot of things, or on what specific features you think a copycat of specifically Chrono Trigger, but not a Final Fantasy game, would even contain.
I'm talking more, like, specifically, like, the combat system.
Yeah.
Like, I feel
this is, like, my first experience with a combat system like this, and so I chalked any of this up with just, like, a lack of knowledge of JRPGs.
Yeah, that is definitely the case, and I'm shocked that you don't think that there are tons of games that mirror... I guess with the only exception, Final Fantasy 6, 7, 10.
10, absolutely not.
Yeah, like
I've played the 10.
Stuff.
A turn-based combat system is not something I would call similar to Chrono Trigger's.
They all have time-based progression in their combat systems.
But, like, I'm talking, like, the more, like, specifics of the combat system where, like, like, the enemies, like, move and, like, you attack them from the back and it does more damage because they're actually, like, animated and they move around.
Wait, what?
There's, like, the enemies with the shields and you can't attack them till they move the shield.
Wait, you can
like
do more damage to enemies from the back?
Yeah. Like, the enemies,
there's lots of stuff that, like,
the
visual
enemies,
signals.
Yeah, visual signals,
like,
right? The enemies move around. Or, like, certain attacks will do more from, like, a certain distance.
What?
Or, like, being close to stuff will let you do counter attacks.
Playing with Luca is you are absolutely required to know these things because she is worthless at close, like, distance, so you want to send other people to attack the thing that's in front of her.
So much,
so she can shoot things.
It's so much more, like, involved than a regular, like, turn-based system.
That's so cool. I didn't know any of this because my main party were all melee characters. all three of them just two had swords and one had beautiful fists and pummel the thing into the dirt.
But yeah, like, I've never played another like JRPG that had those kinds of systems in place.
But yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
It's just-
retract
yeah,
prior
it's really-
statements.
Maybe there's some on like the PlayStation 1, because I don't know if I played any PlayStation 1 JRPGs except Final Fantasy 7.
Can you pause during the battles in Chrono Trigger?
I could, but I don't know if that was like exclusive to the version I was playing.
I never tried because I could just flip down the DS.
I wouldn't have thought to have done that. It just occurs to me that I never attempted to do it. It's just because, like, I always felt like... because, as I've said, whenever I play handheld games, I tend to be doing other things at the same time, like listening to stuff. And with Chrono Trigger, I never felt like... I never wanted to divert my attention from the battle.
Yeah.
Because, like, you could just die
Yes.
all the time. Unless you're just, like, running to another place and just trash mobs. But, because... this is a game that did a lot for me in terms of being able to stomach a JRPG, like, turn-based combat system, but, like, it doesn't prevent some of the fights from getting stale. Like, part of the reason that I didn't like Death's Peak was you run into Lord help me. The second section of that, where you have to walk across the icy bridge while the wind blows you down.
Yeah.
That was annoying.
Yeah, it was easy once I figured out, like, the strategy for it, which was, I guess, just to hold the walk button, or in your case, don't hold the run button, and just, like, hold up, and then hit left, and you'll just slide along, and then you just press the run button to move forward when you need to, and let go of up when you want to move backward. To get across the bridge while facing up the whole time.
How many times did you guys fail to get across that bridge?
I fell like 7 times.
I was like 4 for me.
Yeah, but most of, like, the first 5 of those were before I'd even started across the bridge because I didn't know what was happening.
You didn't talk to the little dude?
Yeah, he was like, "It's slick, don't fall down." I was like, "Thanks, bro."
You fell down like
I did
7
fall
times.
down, but it's because I was like, okay, what's the trick? And I would walk, and then because the analog controls are not as good as the D-pad controls.
Oh, you're using the analog stick.
It's more comfortable on the DS for me.
I also used an analog stick.
Well,
yeah.
But the trick for me was, like, I just got it when I just, like, ran across.
Yeah, I never fell off a single time. I was like, okay, I'll be careful, and then just sprinted across the whole thing.
I guess 3 times I fell, and the 4th time I got it.
Yeah, I just, like... But, like, the first several times that I fell, I literally just, like, walked part way across and got blown off because, like, I would be running and it would be pushing me too far to the front. I don't even know if you can fall off the front because I would panic and stop and then get blown off the back.
The amount of strategy you guys put into this is already...
Yeah, but either way, I had to run past that one blood yoke over and over and over again, and it was just like, it really reminded me that there are some battles in this game that literally are just like hammer the A button until it's dead.
Yep.
That was actually the whole point that I was trying to get across. I just wanted to bring up how much I hate the third act of this game again.
But yeah, there are a lot of circumstances, and since, as you guys are now aware, I didn't even know a lot of the cool, tricky little combat mechanics you can go through in this game. A lot of the battles for me were just JRPG battles. Like, one of the benefits and the reason that I picked the party that I did is because they had such a high damage output that I could just A through most of the overworld fights without a single
I think that's weird.
world.
I think the game does a good job of stopping you from just mashing the A button through all of the battles.
I definitely agree in the context of some of the boss battles, at least. Because I remember, in some circumstances, even to an annoying extent, that there had to be like one really, really specific thing you'd have to do to beat a boss. A lot of bosses actually opened, in my case, with a lot of like trial and error, where since oftentimes I didn't even understand the distinction between like magic moves, elemental moves, and regular moves, that I would just sort of like go through all the things in my little skill list to try and see which ones did or did not do anything or nothing. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you, at least in the context of the bosses, but as someone who specifically picked his party for this purpose, the overworld had almost none of that for me. Specifically, like there's like a Chrono Ayla combination move thing where you just like do a huge cut across the side of the screen.
Falcon hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
70% of the game for me. That killed everything.
That was like the move I relied on for the final boss, but I hadn't really used it much in the whole game.
It's great.
I
It
very
is really
quickly
good.
like, but some of the later bosses, I feel like, in addition to the rest of the quality of the game, I felt the quality of the bosses also kind of decreased over time because it started to rely more on being like, here's an attack that deals half your HP, and like here's a big AOE, and that's the whole thing.
I have a theory on why that might be. Is because I think the combat system uses a lot more memory on like a Super Nintendo cartridge than like a regular turn-based one would. Because like all the characters have to have animations, which takes up like a ton of space.
But why would that...
So that would lead to them being able to have less enemies and like less attacks for those enemies to be able to do, because that's all more animations.
Right. I feel like if you polled any game designer, especially of the era, if it would be more important for the main characters to have a variety of attacks versus the enemies having a variety of attacks, they would probably say the main characters would be more important.
So that's why you end up with like reused bosses and reused attacks.
Right.
Okay.
I'm less offended by the use. I'm not offended at all. Like, I'm less upset about the reuse of like entire boss fights because it seems more natural and they have like a narrative reason for it.
Right.
It's just when like there are 4 bosses that know the move Iron Sphere, where it's like,
oh yeah,
that move is annoying.
yeah, and it's not even like, and if you fought the news. Not like Huey Lewis and the news, but the news in antiquity by opening the books in the right order. Even just do like an attack that just reduces you to 1.
That was another thing that you said earlier that's not in the Super Nintendo version. It's like not called antiquity.
Oh yeah,
what's it called?
I don't. Is that the name of like?
It's 12,000 BC.
Yeah.
Oh, it's called the Dark Ages.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was thinking during that age, like, cause even when I was going through, because I hadn't read the little time card yet, it's like, what do you call this period in time? Like, is like an easy sort of like go through, and then I read Antiquity and was like,
that's exactly the word.
it's pretty close. Yeah, they did a good job with that. They hit sort of the whole like fall of Rome feel right in the head.
Yeah, because we got what, prehistory, antiquity, the present.
No,
The Middle Ages.
The Middle Ages, present,
future.
Cataclysm, future.
Yeah,
No, it's
Because
Apocalypse.
Cataclysm is 1,000.
In
Oh, is it?
the Super Nintendo version.
Cataclysm is a cooler name.
It is.
It
It
is.
is. I like that one.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
I actually like strength tab, like tab being the
tabs,
term for your like level up items.
It's
better
power
than-
tab,
than
magic
capsules.
tab, and speed.
Speed,
tab.
yeah. Speed and magic are the same. They swapped power and strength for some reason.
Weird.
But yeah, other than those though, I think the boss fights, like that trial and error, is something that I actually appreciated in this game because most bosses had a save point like right outside their boss room.
That's nice.
So it was just sort of like, go in, try your thing. And it actually, I don't know if this is intentional or just the way that I interpreted it, fits in with the themes of the game where it's kind of like, Chrono will attack a guy, get slaughtered, and then try again by just like, oh, well, I load the game. It's like I go back in time and do it again. Now I have the knowledge.
I think that's kind of what they're going for.
Yeah, they never fully contextualize it.
Especially
but
since like
maybe.
New Game Plus is a thing, and it's like actually just doing everything over.
Yeah.
Story.
The bosses that were just sort of... There were a few that I think were a little bit too obtuse. The one that I never figured out was evidently the boss on the other side of the bridge, like very early in the game, has like his top half absorbs dark magic and his bottom half absorbs light magic. But at that point in the game, you only have access to light magic because I don't think you have Robo yet, do you?
Oh,
I don't remember.
maybe.
I don't even. I was thinking you didn't
Oh,
even
you
have
do have
any
Robo.
magic when you got to that point, but I guess
Oh
I'm
no!
remembering.
When
it
you're at the
wrong.
bridge, you have magic
Okay.
and all sorts
I
of
can't
other
remember,
fanciness. But yeah,
It was a long time ago, contextually.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I never actually realized that, and just used like flame whirl on him, like just over and over again.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, it's kind of it gives you like sort of like a you feel smart and cool when you like realize what the boss's trick is, and you're like, oh, I'll blast him with that. It's way better.
Yeah. I forget at what point you said, if you've even said this yet, that you like lost to the final boss. Like I forget which form you died at.
Oh, it was his. I guess. Well, I feel like there's a form after this. I don't really remember.
Yeah.
There's the shell.
Yeah, I beat Outer Shell. I beat the boss rush Lavos.
Right.
And then I beat Outer Shell Lavos. And then I got to the safe point inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I approached, like,
Inner Shell.
Pillhead, the prince from Katamari Damacy form, Lavos. And he dropped rocks on me, and everyone died immediately except Luca,
So
who took
there is a
one
form
immediate hit and died.
Yeah, there is a form after that.
yeah, his form after that I thought had a really sort of cool spin on the way the JRPG things go. For your benefit specifically,
I couldn't tell exactly how it worked.
oh, I had a suspicion, and I googled this afterwards and figured out that it was true. He has like one main form that just looks like Cell from Dragon Ball Z, but like kind of not as mean.
I don't think he looks like Cell.
He actually has
I
a
think
little
he looks more.
junk plate. That
I
Cell
guess.
has.
I would say he reminds me more of those things from Metroid. Those like things that are like hunched over.
Like
The-
Metroids.
No, not Metroids. Chozos.
The Chozos.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, good mix.
He doesn't even play Metroid games. He knew the name.
Pull both of those things into two little floating pod guys.
Sure.
And you'd assume from the boss battle, like every other boss in the game, floating pod guys are sort of like supplemental, and they assist them in ways you have to kill the pods.
Yeah, kill them first. move
Not
on
true.
to-
The actual final boss of the game is the right pod, not either of the other two. Yeah, the right pod actually does a thing which I think is really lame, which is it has an attack that specifically removes status immunity. So if you have like an item that makes you immune to statuses, it's like your status immunity is gone, and that's like all the attack does, which is stupid.
That is super lame, yeah.
But yeah, there's the one on the left does that and dies really easily. The middle one has like a bunch of HP, but will eventually die. But the one on the right has 3 times the amount of HP as the middle guy, and all the one on the right does is res the other two. And he's only
He puts up like a
yeah. Like only when one of the other two is dead and he's trying to res them is he actually vulnerable to damage. So you have to kill the right one, and if you ever do kill the right one, it kills both of the other ones and you just win.
Right.
So
It's the Mud Beast fight. If you kill the imp, it actually kills the other two as well.
Huh.
That fight was actually one that was really taxing on my like general strategies because it required like you to focus on one thing with magic, and like my whole game up to that point for the most part was just like magic AoEs.
yeah,
They're like my main thing, and then physical attacks.
Yeah, I think that's one of like my favorite things that this game did was that like it doesn't let you just find one strategy and stick with it the whole game.
Right.
agreed.
Which is like what everyone does with every JRPG.
Yeah. They give you the Nova really fast because it's on Chrono. Like before Part 3, you already have like the epic, essentially version of Flare.
Right.
Yeah.
And like
Is there like another flare that you're referring to, or do you mean Luca's flare?
Oh, I guess that makes sense that Luca would have Flare. But no, I meant the light magic that Chrono gets that just nukes everything. The one that just turns your enemies into like nuclear radiation.
Oh, Luminaire?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you get that at around the same time. Everybody has like a 15 point like big
Yeah.
tech. Yeah, Luminaire is Chronos.
Not all of them are equally cool because
Some of them drop rainbow frogs on people, and
That
some
is
people
true.
never use it.
Ayla's ultimate move was just to put her in perspective of like how not cool or developed she is against other people is, and I quote, 20 mana, kick 3 times.
Ooh, wow.
And that's what you do. You kick 3 times.
Doesn't her like cat scratch fever move deal like just an attack 3 times?
Yeah, but it's not a kick. So
Right,
it's not
yeah.
as-
I kind
That's
of
true.
like that though. Because like her whole thing is that she's like a prehistoric being.
Yeah.
So it's like she can't learn magic. Like you go into the room and it's like you come from a time before magic existed. You can't learn magic.
No, I get that.
And it's just like
that's so fucking underwhelming. To
It's
just be like kick 3 times.
It's funny that that's her super move. It's just
Yeah.
that she kicks something real hard because that's all she can do is attack things physically.
Yeah. Similarly, I really liked Chrono gets frenzy at the end where he like attacks 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, inarguably better than 3 times in a row. But I do like the idea that, like, in a fight where you, like, are nuking people and throwing, like, fucking napalm bombs at them, not napalm bombs, some aloe. Sometimes the best move is to just, like, run up and hit a guy several times. It's just, I don't know.
It's not all she can do, though, because she can also both initiate and be the brunt of many sex jokes. So she's got that going for her, too.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah.
She's quite good at that. I love that
sex?
in the
This is the end of the game. It's a joke.
Yeah. In the anime cutscenes from the PS1 and DS versions, like, I can see that is clearly what the designers were going for.
Oh, yeah.
In like the design, but with the SNES sprites, she just looks like a cat girl.
Oh, yeah.
I was
the
gonna
same way
say,
that
yeah,
the frog
like,
guy is exaggerated with the arm.
Yeah.
Like, her entire chest is just 2 large breasts. And that's literally it. They cover every other thing that is around her.
Gotcha.
But also in that she has like a waistcloth that has like an improvised tail.
Yes.
That's kind of like, but in the game though they don't have the detail to show that, so she just has a tail and is a cat girl.
You can
Like a
tell that
deviant
it's
art
like
cat
draped
girl.
over her shoulder and not like coming out of her
Right.
lower back.
Whatever. Point is that she can do more than hit. She can also be kind of creepily... Well, I guess not creepy for the time. You gotta keep all these things in their proper context.
Time and
Yeah.
culture designates that she is fairly normal, all things considered.
Yeah.
And just another straight pull from other Toriyama stuff, with the exception of this time being cat-themed and a cave person.
Cat-themed cave person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that note, one of the first notes that I have written is literally visuals feel right. I will note that I took that note before meeting that character, but I would still stand by it. I think that like the SNES visuals, like they hit like a color palette with the SNES that actually conveys the mood of this game really well.
Yeah.
Like, everything is sort of drab and like darker colors, especially like the further you go into the future. Like things like start to get like worse off, and they start mixing purples and blues into the landscape to make it look more like terrible and like unnatural.
Yeah. I think what's his name? I keep forgetting. The Dragon Ball guy.
Oh, Toriyama?
Yeah, Toriyama. That's it. I think his art style, like, really, like, they really capitalized on it in this game.
Yeah.
Like, they use it like to put in like humor where they wouldn't in Final Fantasy games, and to like add levity, and like like the color palette's brighter. It's more fun, and it's got like more unique spin that you wouldn't get without his art.
I think saying in a way that Final Fantasy wouldn't might be us being a bit sort of retroactive about
Well,
it.
I'm not saying that Final Fantasy wouldn't put in humor. I'm saying I'm saying that like they couldn't put the same kind of humor into a Final Fantasy game as they could into this one.
Well, give me an example.
Like, I think Ayla's character, like,
is inherently funny.
Yeah, it's like they wouldn't do that in a Final Fantasy game.
Final Fantasy VI has a Beast Boy.
They've had joke characters like Kate Sith,
yeah,
and stuff, but like it is a different tone.
The octopus guy who just keeps showing up and being a shit throughout all of time.
He's in
multiple
Undertale?
games. No, he only shows up one time, unfortunately. And he's not a shit. He's just lonely. He doesn't do anything to make your day worse. How dare you? I'm talking about a different shitty octopus person.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've actually had a lot of
Whatever.
I just expect like everything that you guys have been talking about for the past like 5 minutes has just been like.
He's got a face that's sort of like, and he's like.
There's some
big
in
open
this
mouth.
game.
No.
In Final Fantasy.
Specifically 6 and a bunch of other ones.
Okay, I've never played Final Fantasy 6. So
He shows up
it
like
doesn't
6 times. He's like a main character of Final Fantasy 6. Is this shitty octopus?
Oh, that thing.
Yeah.
That's not in. It's gonna be hard to like split these hairs here, like live on the podcast.
Right.
But
This
I
might
think
be a
there's,
discussion you guys.
I
should
think there's
have
like a
later.
difference in tone.
Okay.
Mm.
That's fine.
It feels more like they kind of like drew from the kind of humor that you would get in like Dragon Ball
Right.
and put it in this game.
I actually, on the flip side of that, I also felt like the game, with the exception of the Millennial Fair scene in the beginning, which is fine because it's the beginning of the game, I felt like there was an actual sense of urgency to what you were doing for most of the game. Like up until the point where you're just like, I'm going to fuck off and do 12 hours of side quests.
Yeah.
Everything leading up to that, which I mean is fine in the context of the game because
Right.
you can literally just go to a different time period. But in like for the most part throughout the game, I felt like it was actually important to accomplish what I was doing, and the opposite I find to be true in most other like large scale JRPGs, particularly in Final Fantasy games, where it's like you'll spend hours and hours doing some shit. And you'll be like, I feel like there's like a much more pertinent crisis on the horizon, and I'm just like riding a chocobo.
That's how I feel about I think this is like an unpopular opinion,
Right.
But that's how I feel about side quests in most RPGs. Like I usually like feel like I should be like going straight through the main quest because like my character would be like, I'm not gonna do that bullshit. Like, I gotta save the world.
Yeah, I
Not
can't
gonna,
like
breed
fishing at a time like
animals.
The
this.
literal
Yeah.
weight of the world is on my shoulders right now. I'm not gonna go fishing for 2 hours.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like-
But this game actually introduces like plot or side quests that tie into the plot,
Right.
Yeah. Which is nice.
which is something that like they do in like The Witcher. Which I
Yeah.
thought was like awesome, and I'm like, I've never seen a game do this before. And Chrono Trigger did it in 1995, so it deserves a lot of praise for that because you don't feel like you're fucking around
Right. You
when
feel
you
like
go
you're
and you do the side quests.
yeah, like you're actually progressing something that is important to you, as opposed to just
Yeah,
fishing.
they feel like they could be part of the main game.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I meant to bring this up when you were talking about how you don't like Act 3,
Mhm.
and I brought up the pacing thing, and I think they did it that way specifically because it's like a very like Square Enix kind of like game philosophy, where it's like the third act of Chrono Trigger is like the third disc of Final Fantasy VII, where it's
Oh,
like
right.
do all this other optional content in the world. It's all opened up to you now, and it's just like the pacing that the rest of the game had kind of takes a back seat so that you can do all the other content.
This
Right.
is the game. The game did not trick me. I was mistaken in a very important belief about the game.
Okay.
Really early on, because back in the beginning, where I was so used to all the tropes that I was encountering, I wasn't quite aware of where they were going to go with the combat system yet. I was like reaching out to try and figure out why this thing had the incredibly high reputation that it did. And so I formed the opinion in my brain, like, oh man, they're going to use the time travel mechanic to create like an actual open world JRPG based on nothing. That thought just continued to evolve in my head until it became true. So like the first 10
What do you
hours
even mean
of
by
this
that?
game, what I mean is like you can literally, like there isn't like a main plot line. Like you can just go anywhere. And imagine if the
gotcha.
game was just side quests that all led in. Because like I had a hint of like, you can fight the final boss whenever you damn well please. You'll
Right.
probably lose right now, but you can do that. And I was like, oh, they're using time travel to just open up everything that's happening around you.
I gotcha.
So I kept going to other zones, and it was reinforced because most of the zones that you can physically access aren't like blocked off, even if they only have anything that happens far later in the game. The thing that comes to mind initially, and I forget which part of the actual overworld this was, there's like a place in the Middle Ages somewhere where you can. Oh, no, it wasn't in the Middle Ages. It was in prehistory. There's like a mountain you can climb up the first time that you're in prehistory before you go to like the Dino Lair or anything. There's tons of stuff you can like walk around and do and visit. But like you fight through all these enemies, and I got all the way to the top of this mountain, and there was just nothing there.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, and I just turned around and came back, and I had like 2 or 3 experiences like that where I kept thinking it was an open world game for no reason at all, and kept not being rewarded in any way for playing it like an open world game until I eventually was just like, oh, I'm being an idiot. I need to stop and play this like a JRPG.
You are kind of being rewarded though because you're getting like cash and experience.
Yeah, and this game also was made in like the Super Nintendo era, where like that's the way a lot of gamers would have approached it at the time.
Anyway,
Yeah,
right.
But
like
that's-
you just like go around and explore.
But in like a modern lens, that would, I mean, that kind of perspective would mean that you would think that like grinding is like equally a rewarding experience by those metrics. I
But
don't
it's
think
be grinding accidentally and be like, oh, well, I got like all of this stuff from doing like a thing that was new to me, as opposed to just grinding for grinding's sake.
Okay.
Did you guys hit a point where you felt that you needed to grind in
Never.
this game?
Never.
Yeah,
ever.
it was the end of the game when I got killed by one. I was one shot by the boss.
What
Let's
level
say,
were
like-
you?
I think Chrono and Luca were 40, and Frog was 39.
Like when I beat the game?
Yeah, we beat the game.
53.
Like 48. So, yeah, I guess that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I did need to
I'm
grind.
saying-
Well, the thing is, I needed to do like a side quest or two,
Yeah.
and like
That's
the
another thing.
arena or
It's
something.
like I tried to go in without doing the side quests, and just got my ass handed to me.
Mhm.
So I went and did the side quests, and they like helped tremendously.
I love how it does a lot. This game is like really open to allowing you to get your ass handed to you in the context of the final boss in a way that I love. I love having the here is where you go fight the final boss and die button being like an omnipresent thing through the game, because it allows you to organically build up Lavos as like this actual awesome thing and not just a thing that the game is telling you is cool.
Right. You can go at any time and check to see how awesome he is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the
Answer
boss
yes.
has the moment where like you fight him and you just lose.
Yeah.
Right.
In the story,
But
it makes him
tons of
seem
JRPGs did that.
True.
And this
but-
one does it twice.
Yeah, but like it's adding on top of the ability to fight him whenever, just building him up.
Yeah. I was just saying that I like that they let you go to him and realize
Yep.
that. I like that it was an organic.
I think that's one of the endings that you can get is if you just do it on New Game Plus like straight away.
Oh, yeah.
You actually just beat Lavos.
There are a lot of that's actually one thing that I didn't do the research on.
Yeah.
Lavos doesn't scale at all, right? Like he's just
No.
like a static entity.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know that you can fight him literally at any time, and there are a lot of endings that you can get just by beating him during certain like chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
early.
you can beat him
Yeah,
like the
scare
first
quotes.
time you face him in like the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the actual battle
Yeah.
where you lose the
Oh
first
yeah,
time
you
through.
get the
But like on new,
developers ending.
yeah, like on the New Game Plus, you can defeat him right there,
Mhm.
which
I
is
did-
neat.
there's,
That it's
uh,
not like a forced losing.
Evidently, you can actually beat him there in new game if you are a little bit over leveled and use like a very specific strategy. I found this out at one point.
Because evidently, I read up on this one trying to learn about all the different endings. The only difference is that he moves twice as fast and hits twice as hard. So those are, it's just set numbers, and if you can beat those numbers, then you've got him.
The thing that I love and hate simultaneously about all of the endings is that there's even like a joke ending if you finish the game in between witnessing Shala charge her pendant and before you go up and just press the A button. It's like in normal gameplay it's like a 1 second window, but if you just like you just about face and leave and go beat Lavos, you get like a joke ending where they just like show a slideshow of all the characters and Luca and Maro comment on whether they're like hot or not.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
It
weird.
contains Chrono's only lines of dialogue in the whole game.
That seems weird.
It's very weird. But
What
all
does
the
he
endings,
say?
I don't remember.
Which one is he attracted to? Both.
I don't know. I don't think he's doing the judgment. We can check on this. But I find it interesting that these endings essentially, like, only have value in the meta sense of there being multiple endings, and not in the, like, you could control your own adventure sense that it's normally marketed as today.
Yeah.
Because if you go through the game normally, like, if you try and face Lavos early, like Chad, even if you're, like, only, like, 5 or 6 levels off where you need to be, you're probably just still gonna lose badly.
Yeah, you're
Right.
fucked.
Yeah.
Miserably.
So all of these, like, specific new endings at specific spots, early open quotes before Act 3, are essentially only there for people who are going through the game a second time, or specifically looking for, like, weird, cheeky things to do about times to end the game.
Right.
Like, they're just there to convince you to play the games more in New Game Plus, not as, like, a way to, like, tailor your experience.
Well, actually, I think I was reading the Wikipedia page again, just to bring that back up, that they added in the New Game Plus feature because they put in a lot of, like, varying content, and, like, they found in playtesting people wanted to play the game again, like, immediately to see the different things they could get. So that's where, like, the New Game Plus thing came from.
I mean, I don't know on a first playthrough, at what point I would know.
Well, I think
that there were, like, branching paths.
I think
going
because they were playtesting, they just told.
They were just like,
playtesters
yeah,
that.
like, do this so that you get this ending, and
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, and then I can't imagine being a playtester for Chrono Trigger. I can't imagine me specifically sitting in, like, a focus group in Japan and being like, you fucking see where am I supposed to get a duplicate of Chrono? And they're like, oh my god, this guy's fucking stupid.
What kind of 5-year-old has a mouth like that?
I was younger than 5 in 1985.
Oh,
Or 1990.
do
Oh,
either of you
1995, sorry.
Do either of
I'm
you
much
know
younger.
the ending you get for, like, not saving Chrono?
Yes.
No.
There's again lots of deviations based on tiny stuff,
Right.
but I believe in most of them at the end, Marl goes off through some means or another by herself to try and resurrect Chrono, and there's, like, an ambiguous ending at the end of the game where she gets to the top of Death Mountain and there's, like, a silhouette of some kind and cut to credits.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's actually more satisfying than I would have expected it to be.
Yeah, I think they call them the reunion endings.
Yep.
I actually I think we already talked that we like that Chrono dies.
Yeah.
Right? We
Oh,
already
yeah.
said that.
Super.
I
pro
really
that.
like the way they, like, use the time travel to, like, explain it, I guess. Whereas, like, you go grab the duplicate and you switch them out.
Right.
It's like just using time travel as a concept in, like, a cool way. Like, because I remember when I replayed through Skyrim, I thought, like, the whole, like, plot that, like, in the ancient times they sent what's the whatever evil dragon into like they got rid of him, but actually they just sent him to the future.
Right.
I was just like, that's a really cool use of time travel.
Yeah.
I'm in, like, I know that time travel largely is a pretty tired trope, both in, like, science fiction and in just video games in general.
Right.
I think Chrono Trigger does get to be at least slightly exempt from that. Even if we're tired of the tropes, we probably wouldn't have been in 95.
Right, and I think this game uses it well, so it doesn't even really matter.
The thing that the line for me is usually, does it try to explain how the time travel works? And if no, I'm way more accepting of it. And if yes, there's now a huge gulf that they have to cross to make it satisfying and not shitty.
Right.
And no game in which just asks you to accept Frog Knights should ever ask you, or even pursue, to try and go through those explanatory gulfs.
Yeah.
Like, as a general goal. Yeah, and they do cheat a little bit with their use of time travel too, because those portals aren't like time portals; they're more like gaps, so like time gaps,
like wormholes.
Yeah, because you're not going back to the same point every time you go through there. You're going back at a set amount of time relative to where you are, because time's persistent in every time period, so you can't like re-interact with yourself.
Yeah, it's like they're bending it to service the plot, which is A-okay in my book.
Of course you would want there to be that kind of progression.
A plot.
Because like because somebody mentioned, like, I was like obviously like researching this. I was watching a video that somebody did, and they were like really like Yeah, in the same way that you were like, oh, this is going to be an open world game, like this person approached it like how are they going to use the time travel? Like they were just like picking at that the whole time they were playing, like trying to figure it out. And like one of the first things you do is the whole Marl quest where she goes to the past and they think she's the queen or looks like the queen, so like we'll just use you as a replacement. And it's like
Weird
when
kingdom.
Chrono goes back and he finds that out and he's like, well, shouldn't Marl like not, if she like going to not exist anymore, like it creates like a paradox of like Marl's her own grandmother, like, or like she shouldn't have existed and Chrono wouldn't have had to go to the past in the first place.
Yeah, it does
cetera,
seem like
cetera.
they're setting up a grandfather paradox.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
it,
like
a
do a
grandfather
bait and switch
paradox,
when they're
yeah.
just like, just kidding.
Yep.
She also is like, this isn't me. I'm just playing along. For
Right.
some
So.
Yeah. Square don't care about that.
Yeah. So yeah.
Square don't care.
And it's to the game's benefit that it doesn't care about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Extremely. Yeah.
Well, just one more thing that I thought this game did that was really cool that I wanted to talk about was how the game puts you on trial for all the actions you took at the fair.
I did want to bring that up
Yeah.
because I feel like that's a thing that is talked about this game.
It's the only thing I knew about it before.
And I say,
playing it.
like, I didn't know about that, and I thought that was a real standout moment for me. Like, that's really cool.
I think it's interesting, but there's one thing that I think detracts from it that makes it like almost completely stupid. Because I think the concept is good.
Yes.
Like I don't think anybody would argue with that. I was slightly upset that I accidentally ate that old man's food because I didn't know. I just thought I was looking at it, and I just like hit A and just consumed it.
There's always the JRPG problem of is A learn information or is A perform an action.
I actually didn't eat the food.
Right. I wouldn't have done it if I had known.
I didn't even notice the food.
Yeah.
I ate different lunches like 27 times.
Yeah,
of the whole
because
cat
it
grinding.
it also comes back. Also, I have
Yeah.
no idea how to rescue the cat. I
What?
never did that.
Oh no!
Oh, grinding
mechanical cat
Right,
being
gotcha.
murdered
Right.
infinite times. Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
But
You
what-
press it once and the cat follows you. It's not.
I pressed it once and the cat ran away from me.
It was following you.
I went to the other side. It didn't follow me.
Yeah, I had the same problem.
Yeah.
Like, I go up to it and hit A, and it would just, like, run.
Run under the table.
Yeah, it would, like, dart away. And then I would move, and then it would not follow me.
Were you with Marl or something? I'm just trying to think of explanations for why it would have been different between the two of us. Because yeah, it wasn't. I just did.
Yeah, 'cause, like,
the
I-
expected thing of be like, "Come on, cat," and then
Yeah.
it came on.
So, yeah,
And-
I tried,
the
like,
cat did
3
not come on.
times, and the cat just did not do anything.
yeah, the cat girl shows up at your trial. Huge quotes.
Yeah, and she's like...
Yeah,
You gave
and
me
she
a
said
cat?
he didn't even listen to me while I was crying about my cat. And I was like, I listened, I tried, the cat didn't want, whatever.
Yeah. I think
The game knew that I, in real life, don't like cats.
But anyway, what do you not like about it?
I was going to ask JJ because
Yeah.
I feel like mine is kind of rote.
I thought it was overhyped. If I had learned while playing it that the game was like monitoring these facts about my playthrough and like somewhat seemingly insignificant facts could have these like large standing changes in what happened, that would have been a cool experience for me too. But because I already knew the trial was coming, I expected like an actual trial, and whether I knew it or not was like I generally try and go through RPGs as like a nice person. Like,
Right.
to an extent that I think a lot of other people find stupid, like intentionally being monogamous in video games and stuff like that.
I do find that really weird.
Yeah, but like this is the amount of like weird like ethics pickiness that I have when I'm like just going through RPGs. So I was going through that like trying to be nice, but not only was the like within narrative trial that they hold you up on, of course, a complete stupid farce, but like I didn't. With the exception of the lunch thing, like I don't think anything I did was actually at fault. Like the sort of dialogue options, for example, that you go through when you like try to sell her necklace is a guy tells you her necklace is worth an extreme amount of money.
Yeah, you
can
did
try
that
to
and we
sell
didn't
it?
do that.
Oh yeah, you can if you
Oh,
go
wow.
up to one of the markets, there's like a guy who kept talking about how like these pendants were worth lots of money. So I was like, oh man. And then we went down and talked to the guy, and he was like, oh, that pendant that you have is like unbelievably worthwhile.
Right.
And then you turn to her, and you're like, do you want to sell the pendant? Because this guy says it's worth tons of money. And she's like, nah, that's really important to me. And I'm like, okay. And then everybody in the game thinks that I'm like a shitty person
Well, it's
who's
not
trying
like
to
that.
steal
It's
her
a
money.
game-
It's
It's the
characterization of
people-
the Chancellor.
Yeah, the Chancellor thinks you're a bad person. He's trying to frame you.
Yeah.
But he's a jury.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hilarious
It's a hilarious farce.
Like, it's skewed, obviously, against
I could have just bought the guy lunch. I don't think I should have been committed to death because I ate a guy's lunch.
That's, like,
and that's
obviously,
the other funny thing, is that, like, you
it's-
do, like, petty nonsense at a fair.
And they, like, try to turn it into,
and they, and then they tell you that you're gonna die in 3 days.
But no, that's totally legitimate. Like, if I would have known that was gonna happen, it would have way cheapened it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, as, like, experiencing it blind, I thought it was, like, a super cool moment.
Completely agree. I
See,
wish I could have been blinded.
I knew about it, and I still thought it was fairly cool because I'd never seen the courtroom scene played out. I just knew that they monitored things that happened at the fair. But the thing that I didn't like about it is that it's undermined so drastically by the very next thing that happens in the game. Because you're like, I can't believe I was framed for this. I'm gonna murder every guard in the castle. Like, just cut them down without even thinking about it. I thought that was going to be, like, the stealth section where you, like, sneak by.
No.
But you just, like, walk out and they're like, hey, and you're just like, just haggle in.
You didn't take my sword away from me in prison.
For some reason.
Classic mistake.
Yeah,
I mean, they
really.
are there later, so I guess maybe you didn't
You murder all of them.
Wait, you can go back?
to the castle
Yeah.
at any time. Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I went back once and they were all like, oh, hey, it's your fugitive people, and then you run away.
If you come with Marl,
Yeah.
they say, like,
So yeah, I had her in my party.
Okay.
So I never.
I came back once and was like, oh, I should probably never come back over again. That makes sense.
that's how you
stop
stop
treating this like an RPG.
The blue plate.
What?
The blue plate is in the castle.
Oh.
In 1000 AD.
Cool.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna say something else.
Was it going to be that Slurp Kiss is the best move in the game?
I never used it.
On a similar note, weirdly, I did use that move like 2 or 3 times because there was a short period where I was Chrono Frog Ayla.
Any heal moves that took more than one person to cast, I didn't use.
Like the best heal moves.
Yeah.
Either way, though.
But Robo's heal beam does just as much, and it's only one person. has to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, Robo's late game heals are really good. Beyond that, though, and building from the Millennial Fair and that trial scene, and on your comment about Slurp Kiss, does anyone know what Feel the Tickler is referring to?
What? No.
I kind of expected that was going to be your reaction. I wrote it down so I didn't forget about it. In the trial scene, he, like, announces the trial like it's like a news broadcast,
And
or
it's
he's
like, it's time to feel the tickler.
no, he says like, will he get away with his crimes? Will he feel the tickler? Will he some other thing? And I didn't hear that other thing because I was so caught up on what the fuck feel the tickler means.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I googled it, and like one other person has ever asked this question. Somehow Square got away with putting the line "feel the tickler" into a game, and nobody even like remembers it.
Okay.
And, yeah, I'm immortalizing it right now.
Maybe it wasn't in the Super Nintendo version.
That's possible.
It's possible.
It seems doubtful though.
It's
Like, why would
probably
they
in
add
there.
that
Yeah.
line in? That's even weirder.
Even weirder corrections made by translation teams.
Yeah.
There's one of the Fire Emblem characters in Fates. They just gave him a personality obsessed with pickles just for shits and giggles.
For shits and pickles.
Shits and pickles.
Yes.
Oh.
I wanted to point out further that my entire team strategy, because you have evidently, since you never used heals that use more
He
than one
used heals.
person.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind.
The late game strategy ended up being you have Frog in your party and you have him use heal every turn, and have Ayla and Chrono use Falcon hit.
Yeah.
And like that was
that
worked for everything.
That was mostly what I did. But if shit ever really got real, and like the 250 HP you got from Frog heal wasn't enough, you could always heal 700 HP and cure all your statuses with Slurp Kiss. You just get this frog and this woman, you just like make out a little bit constantly, and then Chrono goes to
It
town.
was never. I used Robo for most of the late game, and it wasn't a problem. He always healed enough.
Doesn't have lips.
And he doesn't have lips. And then at the end, I had gotten a bunch of lapis from the side quests that I did, so if the HP I got wasn't enough, I just threw
Papa
one of
lapis,
those.
yeah.
So I didn't have to have frogs.
Papa lapis.
Papa lapis.
No, that is I don't know. I used Frog's heal. I did that thing that you described where Frog heals like every turn.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of bosses that like once you figured them out, it ended up like just getting into a rhythm, knowing
can you heal enough?
Right. But it'd just be like I knew. I think my favorite example of this was the Masamune fight. When he becomes like the Djinn.
Yeah.
So it would be like I would do like a specific attack with Chrono, a specific attack with Luca, heal with Frog, repeat, and then when he charges Cyclone, then you swap out the one attack, and then Luca would do it like use an item. And like I had it so that it would just like if I cycled that perfectly, I would kill him before I died. But then Chrono ran out of MP, and I was like, I need to like mix an ether in here somewhere, and I don't know how. And like I did manage to pull it off, and Frog died, and then I won the game.
Chrono has a lot of life mixing.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Thank you for listening to No Clip this week.
What are we talking about next time?
Next time, we're going to be talking about 2016's Doom. So don't play the 1993 Doom, and then come in here and be like, the fuck is a Gauss cannon? That's on you. I'm doing that thing where I talk about the game and do stupid things before.
That's kind of a description of the podcast.
Fair enough. If you want to get a hold of us, you can do so at noclippodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter at noclippodcast, our website, noclippodcast.com or .net, and
JJ, what kind of food is Chrono Trigger?
Oh. Berry sorbet?
That one I actually kind of want to know the explanation.
Berry sorbet, you heard it here.
I sort of like, there's a lot of variety, it's colorful, it's really sweet. I often, this might be a personal habit, but I tend to like get too much like ice cream when I order at one time, and I always have like a little bit left over, and I thought it went a touch long sometimes, but it was still worth it. I'm still happy it was there.
Right.
That made a lot more sense than I was expecting.
Are you saying that Chad gets an erection every time he watches Winnie the Pooh?
No, I didn't say Chad, Boner, Tigger.